Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another video. And we are actually going to be spending some time in Create a Sim today. I have been making Sims recently and sharing them on social media and the community tab here on YouTube. And you all have been so nice and complimentary of my Sims. I was doing an unofficial series of Sims with pack exclusivity. I think that's the appropriate term here. I was making Sims for particular worlds using only base game and the pack that provided that world. So for example, I made a sim using just base game and Snowy Escape from Mount Komorebi. I made a sim with cottage living and base game from Henford on Bagley because I just wanted to kind of get back to some basics. I use so much custom content in my game at this point, especially for challenges and LPs. So I thought it would be really fun and I decided to share those Sims with you all. And you've been so nice. And some of the greatest compliments I've received are that I create unique and diverse Sims, and that genuinely means so much to me. Along with all of the wonderful words that you all have given me, you've also been asking to kind of get, I suppose, a little bit of a behind the scenes look on how I make Sims. I will say right up front, my process is very loose. I kind of have two processes. One is going in to create a sim with a very particular sim in mind, and the other is going in with zero idea. If I were to really narrow it down, that's kind of what it looks like. But I do have some custom content basics that I put on every single one of my Sims. One of the big things, for example, for my masculine presenting Sims is facial hair. I have a lot of custom content facial hair because the facial hair we have in game is wonderful, but I need even more variety. I just do. So what I want to do today is I want to create a sim with you, show you some of those basics. I'm going to be providing either the creator names on screen for you as well as the resources in a pinned comment, or I will simply link the things that I do put on my Sims in a pinned comment for you so you can go ahead and download them yourself. I'm going to try to remember to do both. If I forget to do the on-screen stuff, don't yell at me. If I forget to include a resource, you can politely ask me to dig it up for you because I want to find it. I really do. I just spent some time prior to starting this video and filming to dig up some of the basics that I believe I will be showing you today. So hopefully I've got everything for you in a nice organized fashion so you can use these resources too, if you would like. Even if I have a particular sim in mind when I go in to create a sim, the first thing I do is get rid of everything. I mean hair, any accessories, any clothing, any skin details, tattoos, body hair, everything goes. I strip my sim back to nothing when I start out and create a sim. I will take the time to do that because I love going in with a blank slate. Now this was just a default sim when I opened up Create a Sim in the first place. And one of the big things that I really don't touch if I'm going in with no plan is the skin tone, because as I play around with certain features or maybe an idea comes to me while I'm going through certain clothing items, I might completely change the sim. So I really don't touch this that much. But one thing that I really enjoy doing is creating some, I guess I'll call them custom skin tones. We have a great variety, I think. When we got that update years ago at this point, I think, right? The skin tone update, which was well overdue. You can actually take a skin tone, like this is the Sims default skin tone, and if you didn't know, you can actually use the slider to change it. Some of the changes might be pretty subtle, but it's a great way to come up with your own custom skin tones as well, which is what I've done in a few areas. I've done that for actually every category, warm, neutral, and cool, and you just do that by pressing save. So if you were to use this slider, let's say I wanted to save the skin tone, I just do that. It's super easy. And then you can delete the ones that you don't want as well. So I'm not going to save that one, but I just wanted to show you that just in case you didn't know. Without touching skin tone, one of the very first things that I do after I've created a blank sim, if you will, is I will go into bodies. Now you can probably see that I have a lot of body presets in here, and this is due to the More Cast Presets mod by Zerbu. If I pronounce that wrong, forgive me, but it doesn't just include body presets. It's also nose, eyes, and mouth presets. And I think maybe jaw presets, just tons and tons of different presets for you. Some of the changes are really minor and others are very significant. And there's all different body types available to you as well. It's kind of nice to just start poking around, using some different presets, finding one that you like. Again, that might spark an idea for a sim. It really all depends on the kind of sim that you are trying to create in the first place. So I'm actually going to go for, I just got an idea. We'll see if it kind of unfolds, but I just want to make, I'm just going to keep playing around. I am guilty of this. And I am trying to get better at this. I'm always trying to get better at making diverse sims. I try to learn a lot, but I will say that a lot of my sims do kind of suffer from same body and same face syndrome. So I have to push myself a little bit to just play around with different things and really try to create new sims every single time. That's what I try to do. So you know what? I'm going to go with this preset. It's different from what I usually go for. I love it. I think the sim already looks great, in my personal opinion. Then what I'll start to do is I'll start to play around with these eye presets. Now again, I have tons because of that mod. There are some presets that I tend to gravitate towards, but again, it depends on the kind of sim that I'm trying to create. No pun intended, but this preset caught my eye. So I'm gonna go ahead and manipulate it a little bit to achieve an eye shape that I like. And one of the things that I cannot emphasize enough when creating sims is to freely play around, but also to go into detail edit mode. So one thing that I like to do, granted this preset had this bottom lit up pretty high, because I kind of like it because it makes all of your sims seem like they're smiling just a little bit. They got like the eye crinkles, you know what I mean? I just like that look. But usually I raise this upper lid because if it's down too far, they look kind of sleepy. And some poses might look a little bit off. And you can also go left to right to kind of create different eye shapes. There's just so much that you can do in this detail edit mode that I think is amazing. Like you can make this pupil a little teeny tiny if you want, or you can make it really, really big. I'm going to go for a pretty average size here, something like that. And I am going to bring this top lid down a little bit more. I might even alter the shape of the eye itself. You can also do this, like you can turn it inside and out there at different angles, which is really nice. I love the detail edit. It's one of my favorite things. I might actually make this eye shape less almond eye. I think that's kind of what it would be considered, like less almond eye. He looks very awake. One thing I also tend to do is I play around with where the eyes are on the face. You can see here, you can get some pretty interesting stuff going on if you really play around with the eyes and any other features on the face. But I have really gravitated towards bringing eyes closer together. But you can tell it completely changes the look of a face too. So I think we started out maybe around there, but I like to bring the eyes in a little bit and move them down. My sims have big foreheads, okay? I have a big forehead. I used to call it a 5 head. There were times I was teased for my big forehead, okay? I'm just being honest. I have been teased for my big forehead. Today is not that day though. There. I am satisfied with this sim's eyes. Now, one thing too that I'll emphasize and I'll always recommend is for people to check out the side profile and to adjust it. Now, personally, I don't mind this side profile. I think he looks wonderful. But if you haven't noticed, sometimes with some of the animations, especially kissing animations in game, your sims' mouths won't even touch if their face is kind of pulled in like this more. So what I do by default, I think he started maybe around here. I will pull it out just ever so slightly. Looks exactly the same from the front, but the side profile is a little bit different. But that's also really important when you're trying to play around with like the chin or the jaw, the mouth, the nose, everything. So now we're going to pick a nose preset. I'm going to go for something like this, but I think make it a little bit more narrow. Actually, no, I kind of want something a little bit more upturned. And again, these are just presets that I have, so I'm going to play around with them a ton to try to make them exactly what I'm looking for. Like, even that, I like that. He's got a perfect nose now. And then I have tons of mouth presets as well. I chose a mouth preset and I actually narrowed his jaw just ever so slightly. And the last thing I'm going to touch here are the eyebrows. And these could change as well, depending on the hair that I end up choosing for this sim. But I'll probably go for something like this. I tend to have my eyebrows like this inner corner here. I tend to angle them upwards a little bit. My Sims might look surprised, but if you bring the eyebrows up and down, like up here, this Sim just looks surprised all the time. But I try to bring them a little bit closer to the eyes as well, because if you kind of angle them down, your Sim's gonna look angry all the time. So I usually bring them to like here. That's like, it's pretty standard for me. Now this is where we're gonna get into some of those custom content details that I was mentioning earlier. And the very first thing I want to put on this Sim, no matter what, is this skin overlay. It is the Pufferfish Skin Blend by Ms. Ruby Bird, I believe is the name. I'm going to put it on screen for you because I could have misremembered. I should have had it on screen in front of me. But look at how simple that is. It's so simple, but it gives some shadow and depth to the nose, like the nostrils, the eyes. There's like some slight eye bags now, as well as some depth and shape to the lips. I just realized too, it also impacts the ears, the forehead, and it provides a highlight. It's really nice. There are some other swatches too. And what's great about this one is that there are some swatches with crow's feet, wrinkles, some laugh lines. So it's great for maybe your middle-aged Sims, your elder Sims, stuff like that. I just think it's wonderful. And these different swatches as well have different shadowing and highlights. So you can play around with that to your heart's desire. There's no slider, but this is my default. It is the default swatch, and it is the default skin detail that I put on immediately after deciding on the shape of the face. And my favorite thing about this is it really doesn't change the features of the Sim's face really drastically. There are some skin blends and skin defaults that drastically change the features of a Sim. And I think as a player, trying to think of folks on console who don't have access to custom content, I want my Sims to resemble themselves if they're downloaded by those who cannot get those pieces of custom content. Hairs are kind of one thing, but when it comes to kind of facial features and things like that, I want to keep it as close to EA as possible with a little bit of a custom content flair. And that's just my preference. Next, what I will do is add these little mouth corners by Miko. They're not super significant, but I think they probably pop more for my male Sims. And there are different swatches for this too. I usually go with the default yet again. I don't usually play around with all of these different swatches and options. Like, oh, but I might play with this one. This one could be great because it could kind of morph right into laugh lines. It almost gives a subtle laugh line. That's kind of nice. But I usually go for the default. I always add this. Now with this particular like mouth, I think it's like a mouth details kit or something. Again, I'll link it down below. But there's also a shape overlay. I don't use the shape overlays that much because I believe it also came with some mouth presets that I just typically don't use. And I think the overlay works nicely with those presets, but perhaps not with all the other presets that I have in my game. So I will put on the mouth corners. That's kind of the next thing. And then my male Sims, my masculine Sims, they often have facial hair, which we will do in a second. But I want to point out this lovely item. Hold on, let me just click off of it. I can't click off of it. Okay, it's called Bluffin, and it is by Urban Sims, i.e. Jen. Okay, Jen makes some great custom content, and there's small details that I adore. This provides your Sim with some 5 o'clock shadow, and there's a ton of different swatches. I might not put it on this particular Sim, but I've used it for Sims that are a little bit more rugged, maybe a little bit more unkempt at times. Sims who I want you all to think that they've like just shaved, stuff like that. Maybe their facial hair is just starting to grow in. I've used it on adult and elder Sims to kind of just fill that in a little bit more. I think it's a fantastic detail that we don't have in game by default. So I wanted to show you all that. Again, Bluffin' by Urban. It's fantastic. However, if I'm not putting that on a male Sim, I have the opportunity to add the Spotlight in this particular face detail category. Spotlight version 2 by SimAndy. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite details I put on every single one of my Sims because it adds this shadow. Now, sometimes it can be harsh. In some of my current LP and Legacy Challenge Sims, the shadow looks like this. Now, when you're looking at a Sim, it looks great in photos that you take, but it's a bit harsh on the eye, especially if you have a Sim that doesn't have longer hair that kind of covers this. My husband looked at this and he asked if it was like a birthmark or something like that. on my sim. And I was like, no, it's just a shadow. I put it on a creative sim. So I'll go for something a bit softer. Like, yes, you can notice the color difference, but it's subtle enough. And this one wraps in that direction. So the shadows kind of, I'm not good with lighting, okay? But I add the slight shadow because when you take screenshots in game, it looks fantastic. That's all. And that is quite literally everything I use pertaining to face details by default on every single sim. I will, of course, add other details like freckles or liver spots and stuff like that. I'll use everything on my sims if it's applicable. But by default, I use Spotlight, I use this skin blend, and I might, oh, in the corners, the mouth corners, I also might use this Pixis face kit. It is something that is absolutely fantastic. You can get a lot of fun details. They are, again, very subtle. Some of the things that I'll put on, do you see that slight change? Do you see it? It's on the nose. It gives like a little highlight, like a little spot, which I'm going to go ahead and just keep on because now it's there. But there's like a little spot at the end of the nose. Very subtle details. It could impact highlights on the cheeks, some coloring to the lips, brows, nose, everything like that. It's a great little kit to add tiny details. One of the things that I've been doing very recently for my Sims is to actually add an overlay to the eyes. Now, I do have some default eyes in, as well as some other eyes that I'm really just not even sure where they came from, but right now I have a default eye in, and this is actually, I believe, the Clover Eyes by my Shudo-san. They're beautiful, very simple, but lovely defaults. However, what I have been doing as of like last week is in the face paint category, I have this piece of custom content by Golly Haha, and these are chroma eyes. Now you can get them as default replacements, or you can get them as a face paint, and look what you can do. So let's see, this sim has kind of like grayish blue eyes. I'm gonna go for this. Oh, that's a bit much. Maybe like this? That's very blue. There's some middle grounds, but you can also play around with the opacity. You can change up the hue, the saturation, all that stuff if you wanna make adjustments. So I might lessen the saturation a bit. Never mind, that might just be because it's in the face paint category, but isn't it stunning? The eyes look a little bit more natural and real. I just love it. It's the look I'm into right now. So a lot of my Sims are getting this as an overlay to the eyes. I think it's really, really pretty. And I wanted to show you all that because I thought it was gorgeous. Now that I've kind of figured out the facial features, figured out the eyes a little bit, I'm gonna play around with hair and hair color. I will, even if I have a particular sim in mind, I will flip through almost every single hair color and I'll just start picking random hairs. So for example, I'm just gonna plop this one on him. Is it my favorite on this particular sim? Not really. I also really don't like this kind of like platinum blonde hair color for him in particular, but I'll start flipping through and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll make a little cheese head. That's not an insult. It's just the cheese hair to me. It's beautiful. It's so vibrant. I don't use it that much, but I love it. This is Travis Scott in the BFF household, right? Love Travis Scott. But I'll start flipping through all of these different hair colors as well. Now, you'll see this little heart on all of these hair colors because some of these hairs, I think, flag all of this as like custom coloring to the hair. I'm not exactly sure, but to my knowledge, I flipped through my mods folder. I do not have any custom hair colors in my game. I use all the ones that are just EA, at least to my knowledge. If I've had it this for so long that I'm just unaware at this point, let me know, but I do not believe I have any real custom colors in my game. But I'll flip through every single one. Like I might just have a nice brown-haired boy today. I don't know. I might go with not the blue black hair because I can't stand it. I like the true black hair. Yes, I do. I like it very, very much. But you know what? I think I'll go with like some dark brown. Dark brown's pretty, and then I might change up the hairstyle, but I want to show you all the facial hairs that I have. Now, I recently downloaded this facial hair pack, if you will, from Urban, i.e. Jen, Urban Sims. We've got Whisker, Goat 2, Goat 3, Fuzz, and the OG Goat. I want this one. I want this one on my man's today. I like this one so much. I love Whisker. I think I used Goat 2 on one of the Sims I made recently. You can also see we have some honorable mentions by Bob Newbie as well as Golly Haha yet again. And then this is Vega Sims, I believe. Yeah, Vega Sims, if I'm reading that correctly. Some of them I am unsure of the creator because I just didn't look. This one right here, like I'm not sure. It's got the little llama symbol. I don't think it's a winged llama, but I'm not sure. So I'm not gonna say who it is. But yes, I'm gonna keep this one from Urban Sims. I love this facial hair. I like it a lot. I really do. And now that I kind of have the facial hair and I'm starting to take a look at this sim, I'm like, okay, you know what, actually, I'm going to change up the hair a little bit. And I have tons of custom content hair. A lot of them do have the creator's name on the thumbnail, which I so appreciate because otherwise it's really difficult to track them down. A lot of the male hairs I have are by Oakry. We've got Sims Trouble. I have a few by Clumsy Alien, which I really like. This is like, I don't know if it was meant to be this way, but this one just makes me think of Alexander Goth. I love this hair. And this one, I just got this one. Woo! It's dreamy. It's dreamy. I love it. A nice long hair is beautiful. We also have a few by QR Sims as well that I just got. Like this one I really like. A lot of them are very simple too. They're nothing extravagant, if you will. But I feel like, especially if you're looking at base game and maybe just exclusive packs. So for example, the next sim that I really wanted to create, which this sim might become, I wanted to do base game in my wedding stories because I wanted to make a sim from Tartosa. And when we start looking through the hairs, a lot of these are custom content and base game, and there's only one hair that came with my wedding story. So if you're trying to do kind of a pack exclusive thing, you can be very limited on options. And personally, for the sim that I now want to create, I think I want to create like a stereotypical geek, and I'm just going to do like an everyday outfit. I know, I don't like feeding into stereotypes, but you know what? I think he's a geek at his core, and the clothing that he wears represents his interests and his personality. And I think he's kind of like a quirky, exuberant, geeky man, and I adore him already. But anyway, you're a little bit limited on hairs. Like, I could use this one. I don't mind it, but a lot of these hairs just really aren't doing it for me. When you're so limited to base game, they just really don't do it for me. We've got some great additions to base game. Don't get me wrong. Like this hair that we recently got, just chef's kiss. I quite literally love it. I have been meaning to make a sim with this hair. I don't think that this hair is for this particular sim, but I love it. I love it so much. It's so beautiful. I'm getting very excited over it. When I saw this, I was amped. Anyway, I don't really like a lot of the base game hairs for this. So if I was going to do pack exclusive, it's a little bit rough. So I might just use this one from QR Sims just for the sake of creating this sim and showing you all. Since I've got a lot of the details down for my sim, I made the adjustments that I wanted. I don't really have too much else to add to him. I just need to dress him a little bit. I might give him like some glasses. Oh, wouldn't that be funny with his t-shirt having glasses on it, and then he also has glasses. He's like, look at me. Look at how cool I am. Me and my glasses. Though I think he looks nice with these rectangle frames instead of round frames, but let's try some round frames. Ooh, I love making Sims. I just think this is really fun. I really do. I love it. I never know where the journey's going to take me. Oh, these are my favorite. These are my favorite glasses, though. We're going to go with those. And I am making him pretty much just a base game plus these pieces of custom content, if you all are wondering. And I'm going to go with some jeans, okay? My man loves his jeans and his t-shirts, all right? He just does. And I think I'm going to go with kind of like a lighter swatch of these. Oh, I love him. I love him. I'm also going to give him some sneakers. Again, we're just going to make it exclusive to base game for the purposes of this video. I'm going to give him some yellow sneakers. Ooh, they're kind of a puke yellow, but I love them. But I love them. And that is pretty much it. I'm going to leave this video here. I know I did a lot of talking, but this was really fun for me to kind of talk through not only my process, but to explore some of these pieces that I put on my Sims to really make them who they are, and to try to kind of match how your Sims will look using just Maxis items as well, in-game items. Because again, I'm trying to think of console players more often than not, especially if I intend on uploading Sims to the gallery. I know it's tough for PC players, number one, if you don't have a list of custom content that a creator uses, but for console players, your Sim might look entirely different. So I want to try to make my Sims look the same if you don't have custom content. And if you were to remove some of these facial details that I added, he's not going to look that different. You could easily replace the facial hair, and everything else is pretty general. A lot of the stuff that I have is very, very simple, and it offers very small changes to your Sims overall. But I hope you'll enjoy this. I will perhaps create some other outfits for this sim and toss them up on the gallery for you all if you are interested. That way you can check out the resources link in the comment of this video, the pinned comment, and you can go ahead and download him if you would like. But I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful, informative, or at least enjoyable, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!